You can easily identify which pointers you're lacking in. These are all macro concepts you have to learn. So if you get a 1, it means you never get the rune or you always wrongly go towards the rune. Understand when you want to gank, it's always with intent to generate successful plays, high probability plays. Hey guys, I'm Balloon and I've decided to create a cheat sheet for mid lane. In this document, this cheat sheet will contain 4 sections. We have the laning section, early game, additional criteria, and also the overall grade. Alright, I particularly will go through laning and early game only because most games are won within the first 20 to 25 minutes, so that's where most of our actions matter the most. Now we also have the criteria, which is your GPM, XPM, and also your overall grade and recommendations. So what can be done better based on your score throughout the game. This will be the basic version. I've also created an advanced version, but it's exclusive to my coaching students. If you want to get the advanced version that goes more in depth, that goes into more details for each criteria, feel free to book a coaching session with me or contact me on Discord and I'll teach you how to use it and how to use this personally. I've coached over 1,000 students to date and I've helped at least 50 players hit Immortal. So I'm pretty sure I can help you to reach your Dota goals as well. There will also be the Excel versions. I've created both the Word versions and the Excel versions. Anyway, let's get into it. So this is how the front page of the cheat sheet looks like. We have the hero name, session number, replay ID, date, and also your total score. There will be a total of 27 concepts, 15 from the learning phase and also 12 from the early game phase. So from the laning phase, let's begin. The laning phase will consist of the first 7 to 10 minutes of the game or until either mid tower falls. Okay, so let's say you break the enemy's tower or enemy breaks your tower, or you can no longer break either tower because the laning phase is over and there's nothing much you can do, then you'll move into the early game phase. So first concept, a very important concept that I talk about in my videos consistently is setting creeps. So setting creeps refers to, for those of you that are not familiar with it, is to drop the enemy creep's health to the spell kill threshold, meaning you drop it in order to secure it with spell and also to trade the enemy hero at the same time, right? The last hit opportunity. Now if you get a 1, it means you are never setting or you're wrongly setting. That means when you're supposed to hit a creep, you don't hit the creep, or when you're not supposed to hit the creep, you hit the creep and that in turn pushes the wave for no reason. Okay? If you get a 5, that means you always and correctly understand every action in your lane. When you hit a creep, you're dropping it low for a spell to trade. Okay? So this video will mostly be just an overall run through of the document. I'll create a series of videos about this cheat sheet and I'll go through each criteria with you with clear examples of what is a score of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But for this video, I'll show you the overall structure of the cheat sheet first for you to understand better. Alright, let's move to the next one. So now we have creep aggro. Creep aggro refers to pulling creeps with aggro. That means you right click the enemy hero and the creeps come to you. Okay, you also abuse aggro cooldown, so testing your aggro knowledge. If you never aggro or you aggro wrongly, you get a 1. If you aggro sometimes or you aggro wrongly, you get a 3. And if you aggro always and correctly, you get a 5. Now you need to understand a very common mistake some people do is they always aggro and aggro wrongly, right? Just because you can creep aggro doesn't mean you always want to aggro. There's defensive aggro, aggressive aggro, forwards aggro, stuff like this. It has to be done with meaning. So if you're always aggroing but aggroing wrongly, you're still gonna get like a 3 or 2. Alright. Now we have last hitting ability for our next point. So how do you secure your last hits? Do you use your spells when necessary? Most of the time, this ties into your trading ability as well. So then if you get 0 to 1 per wave, 0 to 2 per wave, lesser than 2, generally you get lesser than 3 points. Okay, and then if you get almost secure all or 3 creeps, maybe 2 to 4 consistently, you get between a 4 and 5. Okay, and then we have denying ability. So denying ability, this refers to killing your own creeps to reduce the enemy's XP and gold. Now, just because you can deny, similar to creep aggro, doesn't mean you always want to deny. Sometimes you don't want to deny if you are ready to push the wave, but because you deny, you delay the push. Sometimes you don't want to deny because there's better actions to take, For example, to trade the enemy hero, to take last hit, to set a creep that's urgent, to creep aggro. Okay? Alright, let's move on to the next one. So after the first subsection related to creep management, now we're going into hero and trading management. This means how you use your hero, referring to your own character's movements and also how you trade. So let's start with the first one, which is trading ability. So how do you use your spells and right click to trade properly? If you do not trade properly, you do not use your spells to trade, you don't use your spells to last hit and trade, you get like a 1, 2, 3 is decent. If you get a 4 and 5, it's good and excellent. So if you want to get a good 4 and 5, we're always gonna be using our spells at the right time to secure last hits and trade at the same time. I will cover this topic. This concept is very important to understand in a future series for this video. Okay, so next one will be idle time. Now what idle time means is how much time you spend not moving around. So you want to be active as much as possible. So your activity, amount of activity you're performing in lane, whether you're always standing still, whether you're always setting a creep, aggroing, denying, attacking the hero, using your career, always doing something. Okay, so if you're always idling, you get a 1. If you're never idling or close to never, close to 0 downtime, this is also called downtime, then you get a 5. Also, if you do not idle but you're performing the wrong actions, like you're just walking around randomly, that is still gonna be considered idle time. The idle time you're referring to here is efficient activity time. That means if you're always moving around but you're doing the wrong things, you're still gonna get something like a 2, a 1, a 3. Okay? Now this document, if you guys can easily pull up any of your replays and use it to grade your games, you can easily identify which pointers you're lacking in. These are all macro concepts you have to learn. So then we move into hero positioning. Now hero positioning, we'll talk about how you move your hero in lane, how you stand, right? If you're too close to the creeps, if you're too far away, if you're taking harass all the time for no reason, zoning when you're stronger. So if you are like strong but you're still aggroing and running away, still standing far from the enemy hero, you're gonna get a 1. If you understand you're strong enough to zone them, then you start moving up to push them away on your high ground, you get a 4. If you're completely zoning them throughout the entire lane, every point, every moment where you're stronger, higher health, higher level, hero matchup wise, even past your tower, then you get a 5, which is excellent. Okay. Alright, on to the next point. So now we have subsection 3, which is your resource management. Resource management refers to how you sustain in lane. So the first one, career efficiency. The career efficiency will talk about how often you use your career and whether you use it correctly or not. Your awareness towards your gold and how you buy items, how you open the shop when you're laning. If you're always sending your career and you're buying items at the right time, then you get 5. Okay, now we move to the next one, sustain consistency. So sustain consistency will be your HP and MP throughout the lane, so your mana and health. Are you able to constantly regen your health back to above 60%, you get a 4. Above 80%, you get a 5. If you're always stuck below 50% health, and you're not really sending any regen in lane, and then you're using your mana randomly, tanking health randomly, taking unnecessary harass and always dropping, then you're gonna get like a 1 or 2. Okay, so next one will be advantage management. Advantage management is pretty important. That means how you manage your advantage and maintain it when you're ahead, or how you understand whether you back off and chill when you're behind. So first concept will be for item build. So how do you itemize when you're playing the lane? Are you able to adapt constantly to your necessity for stats, for regen, boots? Do you need more health, more movement speed? Are you playing against a stronger hero, weaker hero? So then we have scores of 1 to 5 here. If you're unable to adapt and you buy the wrong items, you're going to get a 1. If you adapt sometimes, you get a 3. If you adapt all the time, like you understand, okay, time for stats or time for boots, time for regen. I need to sustain here. I need to wait for 100 more gold to buy more regen to get my health up to win the lane again. Then you get a 5. Alright, moving on. Now we have warding and dewarding. So how often you use your observers and sentries in lane? Do you plan them correctly? Do you plan them always? Do you deward them in the lane? So and scores of 1 to 5. Okay, so always try to aim for 5, guys. If you understand how to get 5 all the time, if you understand what constitutes for a score of 5, that will be your shortcut towards hitting immortal. Because all the concepts here are based on my knowledge of what I would personally want to achieve and do in lane. and also based on thousands of replay analysis already. So it's all the tiny details you have to get right. There's no one single thing that's important. Everything is important. Okay, it's the whole package. All right, now we have rune control. Okay, so do you secure runes throughout the lane? Now, a very common mistake people do is they always want to secure the rune, right? Sometimes there's gonna be instances where you don't wanna get the rune, but want to dive and zone the enemy instead. I talk about this heavily in my top 5 mid lane mistakes video, so be sure to check that video out. Okay, so if you get a 1, it means you never get the rune or you always wrongly go towards the rune. That means when you're ready to push and fight the enemy, but you decide to leave and give them a chance to sustain because their career comes, right? You don't tower dive. And then 5 minutes, I know when to leave, I know when not to leave, and I always get it, or I get it and correctly as well. The best case scenario will be you kill them and get the rune at the same time. Now we have tower diving. So tower diving, I also made a video specifically touching on this. Make sure to check that video out. It's your knowledge, testing your knowledge and execution of your tower dive and harass on the tower. So if you don't tower dive or you don't harass them on the tower, then I get a 1. Or if you attempt, you actually attempt but you fail, because your tower diving aggro knowledge is poor, you get a 2. If you do it okay, you get a 3. If you're doing perfectly, that means you rarely draw tower aggro and you're always diving when the chance is right, you're always zoning them and killing them past their tier 1 tower, between their tier 1 and 2 tower, then you're gonna get a 5. After that, it'll all come down to this point. Based on executing all 13 concepts earlier, they're gonna understand whether you can break the enemy's tower or not. If you executed the 13 concepts properly, at least you get a score of 4 and 5 or 3 above, you are going to guarantee that enemy tower is gonna fall. Okay, so when you break the enemy's tower, you'll assess what time, how long you take to break it. So if you get a 1, that means you didn't break the enemy's tower, it's still at 50% HP. If you dropped it to below 50% HP, you get a 2. Although you don't break it, that means you still attempted it, that's a good try. Okay, if you broke it past 12, you get 3. Broke it within 10 to 12, you get 4. And the best one is you really masterfully play the lane perfectly and the tower falls before 8 to 10 minutes, which is ideal case scenario. Okay, and lastly, we have the post-laning stage identification. You need to understand the end of the laning phase, when the laning phase is over. So I have to identify what is my next step to take, what is my next action plan. If you're still stuck in the laning stage even when the lane was over, then you're gonna get a 1. So if you want to get something like a 5, that means you understand I can't push the enemy out anymore, so I have to start jungling and check the side lanes more for ganks. I have to rotate more. Or I can start pushing, so I have to stop denying, start killing the wave faster and dive them and kill them under the tower to break their tower. Okay, so overall the total score will constitute to 75 points. Right, we have 15 points, so each point's at 5 scores. And then you can also give yourself feedback for improvements here. This is mainly for me to teach my students what they need to improve on. Okay, so now we move to the early game phase. Now the early game phase will be within mostly 10 to 25 minutes of the game, or until your item timing is hit. That means if I'm a puck, maybe I get my Witch Blade and Blink within say 19 minutes, 20 minutes, and my early game phase is done. Or if I'm playing like a Void Spirit, maybe I get my Gleam Scepter +1 Manta stall, then my early game phase is done. Okay, so let's get into it. First subsection, farm and resource management, meaning how fast you farm, how well you manage your resources when you farm. We'll assess by 20 minutes. So once again, your first 20 minutes is the most important period of every game. You should be able to execute most concepts here properly, and most of your games will be easy to win. So we're referring to how you farm the lane and jungle efficiently. Whether you're rotating between lane and jungle constantly, or wasting time, or getting distracted and stuff. So you can objectively assess yourself by the number of CS you get. If I get below 100, I get a 1 by 20 minutes. If I get maybe a 120 to 129, I get a 3. And best case will be more than 150. This is how I grade all my students as well, to push them to improve much, much more. Right? If you are not hitting this, maybe you're wasting time. Of course, you also will factor in the number of kills and number of time you needed to fight in the game. So this will not always be a concrete criteria, but it should still apply 80%, 90% of your games. Okay? Then we have sustain consistency in your early game. So how well do you sustain your health and mana throughout your farming process? We're looking at how much health, 40%, 50%, 80%. right? Are you sending your clarities constantly? Are you staying outside despite being low and being unable to join fights when they break out? So how well you sustain. Once again, guys, there are 12 points here. So we're in the third point here. Right now we have area control. Okay, area control, a very, very, very significant concept you must learn that I stress heavily. It means after you take over an area, meaning if I win mid or even if I lose mid, I'm expected to stay around the area and keep the wave pushed out as I farm the jungle, whether my jungle or their jungle, and pressure the map or relieve pressure from the map. So if you're like maybe you push a wave and you move for no reason, you get a 1. If you push a wave and you move sometimes, but that action actually generates successful results, you get a 3. If you have the perfect balance of jungle, farm, leaving an area, maintaining area, right, controlling. So this is a bit hard to understand, but I'll create future video series to address all of the criteria you see in this cheat sheet, so don't worry. Okay. If you don't understand it now, then we'll need to wait for the videos to come out or ask me on Discord. Okay, next point, map awareness. So how do you read your map for information? Do you understand what you're looking at? Do you understand what information you're reading? Right, if you rarely check your map and you don't really read, you get a 1. If you check your map but you make wrong decisions, sometimes you get like a 2 and 3. If you check your map and you're always understanding what to do at the right time, at the right place, you get a 5. So it's very hard, it's pretty hard to get a 5 here. Normally when I grade my students, they rarely can get 5. Map awareness, area control, and the 2 pointers up here, farming and sustain. Get 4 of these concepts down and the 10 to 20 minutes section is going to be so perfect. Alright, because you'll know every action, every decision making can be justified. Okay, next we move to rotations or ganks. So this means when do you rotate and gank? When a good opportunity arises. If you rotate and gank, always you get a 5. If you never rotate or gank, even when chances told you, hey, TP and kill, hey, get the rune and gank, hey, move through their jungle and kill the bot lane, or move through their jungle and kill the top lane, but you're still stuck at mid, then you're gonna get a 1. Alright, guys, so understand when you want to gank, it's always with intent to generate successful plays, high probability plays, relieve pressure from high chances for successful ganks. Otherwise, if you're rotating for a waste of time, then you're gonna get a 2. Alright, then we have making plays. Next point, making plays will be pick off kills and pushing limits. So this is very important. That means if I'm playing an area, if I'm controlling an area, or when I'm in an area and I see a TP kill, do I do it? Do I understand how far I can push my hero? Okay, do I understand my level is higher so I can make this play and kill this hero, draw rotations to me, force map movements, relieve pressure, apply pressure for my team? So you have 1 is never. If you never make plays, even when there's clearly a kill chance for you, but you're still stuck in farming camps and waves, then you get 1. Or you make the wrong plays, so maybe you get a 2 or 3. So now we move to subsection 3, advantage management. So again, same like laning phase. How do you build towards your advantage in early game? How do you snowball your lead, or how do you recover a lead? Right? How do you maintain your lead? So it relates to item build. Firstly, item build. Do you itemize for survivability or mobility or damage based on necessity of the game state right now? If you do not know how to adapt, you get 1. If you adapt, sometimes you get 3. If you adapt properly and you always know, okay, I'm ahead, so I'll buy a blink, kill more heroes with my team, or I'm behind, I'll adjust with a farming item first to come online. There are a lot of heroes with stuns and stuff. I need to prioritize Lincoln, prioritize BKB, stuff like that. Get 5. Okay, and then warding or dewarding. So then we want to see how often you ward in early game, whether you ward in the right spots as well. Do you invade their jungle and plant wards in their mid area? Do you ward around the lane still, or do you not buy wards? Then we have rune control. So early game, even in early game, rune control is so important, especially if you're playing a bottle dependent hero, because it ties into your sustain consistency as well, and also your management of lead. It enables you to make plays and enables you to opens up much more opportunities for you to guarantee ganks and rotations. So if you never secure, you get 1. Sometimes secure, get 3. Often secure, get 4. And always secure, get 5. In the early game, it's much more important that you always secure the rune. Okay, now we have communication skills. It's very important that you understand how to communicate, how you ping, how you draw arrows, how you send simple text messages, how you not be toxic to your teammates while still making calls and intent at the same time. So if you have poor skills, maybe you're toxic or you don't communicate, then you get a 1. If you're communicating sometimes but it's not really correct or rarely, then you get 2 or 3. If you have perfect communication, meaning you ping, you draw arrows, your teammates actually follow your friendly player, then you get a 5. Okay. Then we have death counter. So almost done. We're at the 11 point now. So 26 out of 27 point now. Death counter, how many deaths you have each game within the first 20 minutes of the game in your early game phase. So then if you get more or equal to 4 deaths, you get a 1. If you're like always feeding, getting caught out of random, you get a 1. Ties into your map awareness, your lead management understanding, whether you're ahead, behind, how to avoid death, threat assessment. And then if you get 3 deaths, you get a 2. If you get 2 deaths, you get a 3. 1 death, you get 4. And the best would be, of course, you don't die at all. Or sometimes, if you die but your death was justifiable, you can still score yourself a 5. But we're talking about random deaths here, or getting picked up for no reason, or you misplay and you get like low scores. Okay, now finally we'll move into the final subsection of the early game phase, the 4th subsection, which is the time you take to hit your item timings. Right, so we have 5 pointers. If you take too long, you take more than 25 minutes or equal to 25 minutes, you get 1. 24 minutes 2, 23 minutes 3, 22 minutes 4, and less than or equals to 21 minutes 5. If I play say a Void Spirit and my Scepter comes at 15 minutes, 14 minutes, 16 minutes, and my Manta counts by 21 minutes, so I'll get a 5. Okay, that's how you score yourself here. The time taken once you hit your item timing will signify end of early game phase and initiation of mid game phase, where you start playing closer to team and react to every fight and all that, start grouping much more. So then your total score in the end will be out of 60 for your early game phase, because you have 12 pointers and 5 grading criteria for each. And then how well you did and what feedback can be provided can be inserted here. Okay, so now we have the additional criteria, which is your post game and also your last hits by 30 minutes. We have your GPM, XPM, last hits, and KD ratio. So how well you perform in each, you can add or deduct additional pointers from the total score you got from your laning and early game phase, which is 135 points. And then finally, we have your total score. So 135 points, your overall grade. If you summarize, say I get like 130 points out of 135 points, that's a 90% gold award. If I get like 100 points, maybe I get a pass. If I get lesser than that, I get a fail. Okay, and then your recommendation. What else can be done better? So normally I'll use this, and based on which sections you can see, like if my the wording was poor, I can put that as a feedback, word more. If my rune control was always but I did wrongly, then I get a 3. Why? In laning phase especially. If my career was slow, maybe I get a 2, then you can feedback to yourself that, or have someone look into that for you. Once again, guys, if you're not sure how to use this cheat sheet, or you need my help, or you want a more advanced version that is a very self-explanatory cheat sheet, then feel free to head over to my website at balloondota.com or reach out to me on Discord. Okay, if you want the cheat sheet, the basic versions here, they are listed for free. I do not charge for this, so it's available in the description box down below. You have the Word document and also the Excel version. Okay, anything else, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll see you guys in the future videos for this cheat sheet again.